trusted for decades, are built on some seriously shaky ground. We all move, every single day. But from that nagging ache in your back after a long day at the office to the serious strain on a factory floor, it turns out the ways we try to measure and fix risky movements are surprisingly flawed. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain, uncover why that is, and explore what a much, much smarter future of movement assessment actually looks like.
You know the feeling. It starts as a whisper, right? A dull ache deep in your lower back after hours of sitting. Maybe it's a little twinge in your shoulder when you reach for something. For literally millions of people, this isn't just some random thing. It's the draining, daily reality of their job. And this isn't just about being a little uncomfortable. It's the body's silent alarm, screaming at us that the work we do is slowly but surely breaking us down.
And make no mistake, this problem is absolutely massive. It cuts across every industry you can possibly imagine. It doesn't matter if you're laying bricks on a construction site, loading cargo containers at a port, or, yes, even sitting in what's supposed to be a fancy ergonomic chair. These work-related musculoskeletal disorders are a leading cause of lost workdays, chronic pain, and long-term disability all around the globe. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar problem that has an immeasurable personal cost.
So, how in the world do we fix this? Well, here's our roadmap. We're going to start by looking at the classic, old-school method, just watching people. Then we'll uncover the expert's blind spot and ask if technology can swoop in and save the day. And finally, we'll reveal a much more powerful and intelligent way forward. You see, our bodies are incredible. They're built to adapt. But all that repetitive strain, all those awkward postures, they create silent damage that just builds up, sometimes for years. By the time we actually feel that first sharp jolt of pain, that alarm has been ringing for a very, very long time. We've just been taught to ignore it.
So when businesses are staring down this huge problem, how do they try to stop these injuries before they happen? Well, the most common approach seems perfectly logical, right? It's just common sense. You watch people work. If you can see the problem, you can fix it. Simple as that. Or is it? To get this done, safety professionals and ergonomists pull out their standard toolkit. You've got direct observation, questionnaires, deep dive task analyses, interviews, you know the drill. For years, these methods have been the absolute bedrock of workplace safety, the tried and true way to spot risks before they turn into injuries.
And this all gets packaged up so neatly into a clean, corporate framework. Step 1, assess the risk. Step 2, implement some kind of change, maybe a new tool or a different way to lift. And Step 3, sustain that change. It looks great on a PowerPoint slide. It sounds professional. It's the cycle we've put our faith in for decades. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. So here we go. This is our first major reveal of the day. That common sense solution, the one that's built on the simple act of watching people, well, it has a critical and pretty much hidden flaw. Think about it. We put an immense amount of faith in the trained expert, right? The ergonomist who can supposedly spot a dangerous movement from a mile away. We just assume their judgment is objective, that it's accurate. Well, a landmark study decided to put that very powerful assumption under the microscope. Researchers got their hands on 442 real-world risk assessments. These were done by 290 different professionals from 20 different countries. And the results were, well, they were stunning. Nearly 1 out of every 3 assessments had errors, 30%. And listen, these aren't rookies. We're talking about trained, certified practitioners making significant mistakes out in the field. But it gets so much worse. More than 1 in 10 of those assessments, 13% to be exact, were so riddled with severe errors that their conclusions were rendered completely useless, invalidated, thrown out. This reveals a massive systemic problem. The very foundation of our safety strategy is way shakier than we ever imagined. All right, pop quiz. Let's see if that number stuck. Based on what we just saw, what percentage of these professional assessments were so off the mark that they were essentially worthless?
The answer is B, a staggering 13%. And this proves a crucial point.
Even with methods that look simple on the surface, the room for human error is just enormous. Our eyes, even expertly trained ones, are not the perfect tools we thought they were.
Okay, so if the human eye is unreliable, that brings us to the next obvious step. Surely the objective, impartial, cold hard data from technology, that has to be the answer, right? Let's just take the subjective, error-prone human out of the equation altogether.
And this is where the wearable comes in. At the heart of pretty much every smartwatch or fitness tracker are these little technological marvels called MARG sensors. Now that stands for magnetic, angular rate, and gravity. They combine data from a magnetometer, an accelerometer, and a gyroscope to figure out their exact orientation in 3D space. These tiny engines are what let us measure movement quality affordably and practically outside of a multi-million-dollar motion capture lab.
And you can see the appeal, right? The potential here is just massive. All of a sudden, we can overcome human subjectivity with hard numbers. We can gather data not in some sterile lab, but out in the real world where people actually work and live. We can give everybody access to the kind of biomechanical insights that used to be reserved for elite athletes in big university research departments. It really seems like the perfect solution.
But, and you probably knew there was a but coming, as we dig deeper into the data, we find a second hidden flaw. And this one is every bit as critical as the first. It turns out that technology is not a simple plug-and-play solution either.
This is the key question. We've got these incredible smart devices on our wrists, millions of us. So can we use them to assess the quality of a complex movement, like a squat or a lift? A groundbreaking study decided to find out. They compared data from consumer-grade wearables placed on different parts of the body against a gold standard optical motion capture system, the kind they use for Hollywood special effects.
And the results couldn't be clearer. Look at this. For fundamental movements like a squat, a sensor on the chest provides excellent accuracy. But that same sensor, when you move it to the wrist, the accuracy drops to unacceptable. It's literally the difference between getting useful data and getting total garbage. So what's going on? It's all about placement. The chest sensor is on the sternum, which is a stable, bony surface right near the body's center of mass. This minimizes errors from things like skin and muscle jiggling around. The wrist, on the other hand, is a total disaster zone for accurate measurement. It's a highly mobile limb that swings and rotates really fast, which leads to all sorts of complex data errors and a technical problem called gimbal lock, where the sensor basically gets confused and loses its sense of direction.
Okay, another quick check-in. This is a really important takeaway. If you could only put one sensor on the body to get the most reliable data for big movements, where would you put it?
The answer is D, the chest. The research is crystal clear on this, and this one finding basically challenges the entire market of wrist-worn devices that claim they can do detailed movement analysis. Sure, for counting your steps, they're great, but for telling you the quality of your squat, they are fundamentally unreliable. All right, let's get a little technical for a second. Remember that weird glitch we just mentioned? The one that messes up wrist sensors when they move too fast? What was that called?
That's right. It's called gimbal lock. It's not just some random bug. It's a fundamental limitation of the technology that makes tracking those fast, complex motions, like an arm swinging during a heavy lift, incredibly difficult to do accurately.
Okay, so let's just take a breath and recap. Human observation is surprisingly flawed, and the obvious tech fix is also critically flawed, depending on how you use it. It kind of feels like we're at a dead end, doesn't it? But the real, powerful solution isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about combining their unique strengths.
And this brings us to a really fascinating discovery. A study found that when experts tried to rate a single movement, like one squat, their scores were all over the place. They couldn't agree. But when they rated a series of different movements and added up the scores, that combined composite score was highly reliable.
This really gets to the heart of how we can build a better system. So what's the big takeaway from this research about how we humans judge movement?
The answer is C, and this tells us something really profound. We humans are kind of bad at making super precise judgments on isolated, single events, but we're surprisingly good at judging the bigger picture. We should be focused on assessing a person's overall movement patterns, their movement signature, if you will, not just nitpicking one single action.
This shows us that the human element shouldn't be thrown away at all. It needs to be developed and refined. We need experts who are part of a system that emphasizes continuous learning and constantly honing their skills.
And this leads us to the true path forward. It's a strategy, and it's called triangulation. The idea is simple. You don't rely on just one source of information. You combine multiple, independent methods to get the full, complete picture. For movement, this means you combine the big picture context from a trained human expert with the objective data from well-placed technology, and, this part's crucial, the personal feedback from the person who is actually doing the moving.
All right, our final question. What do we call this powerful hybrid approach that we've been building up to?
You got it. The answer is B, triangulation. Because at the end of the day, there is no magic tool, no single silver bullet. Human movement is complex, and the only way to truly understand it is to build a complete picture from these different and equally valuable perspectives.
Phew! Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, peeling back the layers on how we look at human movement. So let's boil it all down and summarize the most important points to take away from all this.
First, human observation alone is flawed. Shockingly so, with nearly 1 in 3 professional assessments having critical errors. Second, technology is tricky. It's not a magic fix, and its accuracy depends entirely on where you put it, with the wrist being a terrible spot for complex movements. Third, location matters. For a single sensor, the chest is the most reliable place to be. Fourth, when using human experts, we need to look at the big picture. Composite scores of overall movement are far more reliable than judging one single action. And finally, the future is hybrid. The best solution, hands down, is triangulation, blending human expertise, smart technology, and personal feedback.
And this really leaves us with a final big question to think about. We've seen that both our own human judgment and raw data have their own blind spots. So the real challenge going forward isn't just about building better sensors or training better experts. It's about building a better partnership between the two, creating a system where that hard data informs our intuition and our uniquely human wisdom gives context to the numbers. That is the future we need to build.